Today, we are going to be talking about a game that created a brand new series and changed the face of racing games forever. Grab yourself a Capri Sun, a seat on the couch, and turn on your tube TV. Let's rewind back to the 1990s. Welcome back to Retro Rewind. Today we are looking at the birth of a legend, as a franchise that has sold over 170 million copies across its lifetime, but in 1991 didn't even exist yet. It was just a desperate solution to a technical problem. When the Super Nintendo launched, it was an impressive machine, but it had a glaring social issue. Its two biggest heavy hitters, Super Mario World and F-Zero, were both single-player experiences. Nintendo had designed the SNES with two controller ports for a reason, but their launch lineup was leaving that second-player setting on the sidelines. Shigeru Myiamoto saw the blistering speed of F-Zero and set a mandate. He wanted a racing game that two people could play simultaneously on a split screen. He didn't know it yet, but that one decision was about to change the concept of racing games forever. Myiamoto assembled a powerhouse team to tackle this. He brought in directors Sugiyama, who was fresh off of Zelda 2 and Pilot Wings, Hideki Kono, who had just finished the overworld maps for Super Mario World, and to handle the heavy lifting, they recruited Masato Kimura, the lead programmer of F-Zero, and Hajime Yajima, a hardware specialist who had helped develop the specific chips needed for high-level background calculations. The initial goal was simple: make F-Zero, but for two players. But they immediately hit a brick wall. The SNES's hardware was powerful, but not quite powerful enough. To render the massive, winding tracks of F-Zero for two players at once, the console would have had to work twice as hard. The frame rate began to tank, and the sense of speed kind of vanished. The tracks became so narrow on the split screen that they were virtually unplayable. Myiamoto realized that if they couldn't go fast, they had to go tight. So he told the team to stop thinking about the life or death world of Formula One racing. He wanted the more fun atmosphere, light-hearted amusement park, screeching wheels, zipping around small intricate corners, and a focus on fun over realism. This pivot from high-speed racing to maneuverable karts was the spark that birthed the genre. Because the team was now pivoting to go-karts, they realized they had a knowledge gap. None of them had ever actually driven one. Following a suggestion from legendary artist Yoichi Katabi, the entire development team went on a field trip to an amusement park, where they spent the day studying how karts moved, how the wheels screeched, how the weight shifted during sharp turns. Even back at the office, they had tried to build a small remote control kart to record the physics, but one of the programmers accidentally crashed it into a wall. They experimented with different vehicle types, including hovercrafts, but the karts just felt the most responsive. There was still a visual problem, though. In the early prototypes, the drivers were generic guys in jumpsuits. On a small split-screen display, they all looked identical. They needed characters that were instantly recognizable from a distance. The team decided to experimentally put Mario in one of the karts just to see if his red hat would help him stand out. The result was instantaneous. Director Kono famously said it ended up being the perfect solution. They quickly added Luigi, Peach, and Bowser, and eventually even added Yoshi, as he had just become a global fan favorite in Super Mario World. To make the karts feel 3D on a 2D console, Masato Kimura leaned heavily into Mode 7. This was the SNES's secret weapon, a technical mode that allowed a single flat background layer to be rotated and scaled. By laying the track out on this layer and tilting it, they created a pseudo 3D plane that felt like it had actual depth. But Mode 7 was taxing on the hardware. To keep the game running smoothly, they had to implement a strict split logic. The top half of the screen was for player 1, and the bottom half was for player 2, or in single player it was a real-time map. They obsessed over the feel of the drive itself. They added the jump and the drift using the L and R buttons, and this wasn't just for show, it allowed the karts to hop over obstacles and maintain their momentum around sharp turns. They even prioritized the audio of the engine over a speedometer. Myiamoto believed that hearing the engine rev up was more important for immersion than seeing a number on the screen. Masato Mira worked tirelessly on the physics, ensuring the different terrains like ice, mud, and stone actually changed how the kart would handle. This is where the game truly separated itself from other racers. This is when the team introduced items. They tested dozens of ideas, including a piranha plant that didn't make the final cut, but they eventually settled on 8 core items: the green and red shells, the banana peel, mushroom, the feather, star, coins, and the lightning bolt, as well as adding Boo or Ghost in the battle mode, the 2-player. Only in 2-player it's an exclusive. But the real genius for all these items was the balancing logic. The game adjusted item drops based on your position, the lap you were on, and the specific course you were playing. If you were in first, you had the lowest chance for specific items, whereas if you were in last, you had the highest chance of getting like a star or a lightning bolt. This ensured that no race was truly over until the final second. However, the hardware was so pushed to the limit that it couldn't handle the bot players using these same items. So instead, the developers gave each CPU character a special attack unique to them. Mario and Luigi got stars, while Toad and Peach threw poison mushrooms. Donkey Kong, for instance, got a banana peel. Myiamoto even famously vetoed an option to disable the items entirely, believing that without them, the game lost the tension that made it feel so special. Despite being a Mario game, there wasn't really a massive amount of hype originally. It was one of just 240 games showcased at the third Nintendo trade show, and Sugiyama was actually nervous, unsure if players would appreciate a racing game that required luck with items. He was wrong, however, and within 48 hours the game was sold out across Japan. It was an immediate cultural explosion. While some hardcore racing fans had complained that it was unfair, the general public loved the unpredictability. It led to massive competitions across Japan, and the Super Mario Club television show even began hosting weekly SMK tournaments. The game sold 3.82 million units in Japan alone, and over 8.76 million copies worldwide, making it the 4th best-selling SNES game of all time. For my final review, I gave it a 10 out of 10 for fun. It's the start of one of the most popular series for a reason. The battle mode alone adds hundreds of hours of replayability, and even to this day, it's very dated, but when I made this video, I sat down and I played through every level just because it's addicting. It's a fun game. It is an excellently made game. Graphics, I gave it an 8 out of 10. The use of Mode 7 was a masterclass in hardware optimization. The level designs felt like an extension of Super Mario World themselves. They even used a lot of the Super Mario World levels as inspiration to design the levels for this. So yes, it's very dated, but for the time, extremely solid and very unique, which, as I stated in my last Retro Rewind, I award a lot of points for. I like unique and hand-drawn characters and designs and things like that. It really does add a lot of points for me. Controls, I gave it a 10 out of 10. It's extremely responsive. The drifts and jumps are the foundation that every modern Mario Kart is still built on today, and it feels fantastic even back on the SNES. And Lasting Legacy, I also gave it a 10 out of 10. It changed the racing genre forever. It proved that racing games didn't have to be a simulation, they didn't have to be extremely realistic, they didn't even have to be a car racing game. Kart racing, with already established characters from a completely disconnected franchise, ended up completely reshaping the entire atmosphere of racing games forever. Very difficult to rate this game any lower than a 10 out of 10 for Lasting Legacy. And with that, we're going to wrap this episode up. Super Mario Kart was a game born from a technical limitation that turned into a global phenomenon. It taught us that sometimes slowing down and adding a little chaos is exactly what we need for more fun. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.